Welcome to the Life Well Led podcast, brought to you by Untapped Consulting. On this show, we have conversations aimed at uncovering the art of leadership. Whether you're seeking to lead yourself, your family, your team, or your entire organization, we're here to explore how to do so in a thoughtful, nuanced way. And we're glad that you are along for the ride. I'm your host, John Elliott. I am joined by my co-host and eldest son, Grady Elliott. And today we have the privilege of talking with someone who will be a familiar name and face to college football fans, particularly Illini football fans, our quarterback of the last 2 years, Luke Altmyer. They have been 2 very successful years, both for him individually and for the team. I've been living in this town for almost 25 years now. I have never seen this level of excitement about Illini football, and Luke is obviously a huge part of that. But we've also, Grady and I and the rest of our family, have had the chance to get to know Luke, not just the football player, but Luke the person a little bit through our church community. And what we've learned over the last 2 years is that Luke is incredibly kind, incredibly thoughtful, curious, someone who is hungry to learn, hungry to grow. And those are all values that we hold high here within the Life Well Led community. And so, Luke, so thankful to have you on the show today and to get to explore some of that.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me, man. I'm excited. This is cool stuff, so I really appreciate it.
All right, great. Well, let's get into it here. So probably many of our listeners, that they know kind of Luke, the football player, Luke, the quarterback. They know your stats. They know all that. But most of them probably don't know Luke, the human being. And you are, in fact, a human being, just like the rest of us, right? With family and friends and hobbies and hopes and fears. And so I wanted to kick things off, not with a football question, but just what should we know about Luke, the person?
That is a great question.
You can take that whatever direction you want.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you said it, man. I have hopes, fears, dreams, anxieties every single day, just like anybody in the world. I just play a sport that people like to watch, and that's really it. And that's the bottom line. But I'm so grateful that, God has gifted me to be able to play that sport in front of so many people who like to watch it. And I was one of those people who love to watch it. So to be able to do it now is really cool. But I don't know. I'm a curious fella. I love to read. I love to spend time with the people I love. And that's no secret. I love my family, my friends. I love to be outside, be outdoors. I grew up in Mississippi, so hunting and fishing is, second nature to me. It's really the cornerstone of the people of the South. So, and being from Mississippi, I know all about it. But I'm a curious guy. I like to pursue the truth. I love to venture onward and discover new things in life, whether that's things about the natural world, things about football, obviously, or learning. I love to learn. I love to grow, and that always doesn't include football, and that's for sure. Football is a little piece of my life. It really is, and there's so much more to it. But honestly, I just love to spend time with the people I love. I love to be around my friends, my family, my dogs. I love to be outside. Love to work outside. Love to just to be in the natural world and do things that God's gifted me to do. So, yeah, I'm super grateful for the life that I have and the life that God's given me. So it's a beautiful thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If I could just a quick follow up there. I know something we've talked a little bit about is reading. That's a passion we both share. And you said you like to learn about non-football stuff at times, right? So maybe just take us into that a little bit. What's one thing you're reading, or just one thing that you're kind of digging into right now that you're having fun being curious in and learning about?
Yeah, for the longest time, reading, man, it was the last thing that I wanted to do in the entire world. I grew up reading fictional books and stuff that just, kind of were fun to me, and I enjoyed it a little bit. But for a long time, I didn't, there's a decade or 12, 14 years, I didn't pick up one single book because I just didn't feel like I would get anything from it. And it was boring. I don't know. And but, now as I've gotten older and I've going through our life's ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and as I've gotten more curious about different things, and specifically Christianity, and
Hmm.
just the realities of the world. um, I've wanted to learn from the greatest minds, and studying the greats of the Christian faith, and just psychological thinkers who really can help me connect me to the natural world and reality and the truths about this life that we live, that is such a mystery. But um, and it really started off with, the Bible is such a book that is so complex, and at the same time so simple within its love and its message. But there's so many different themes and complexities about it. There was a lot of times I'd pick it up and read it and get some stuff out of it, but I wouldn't understand the context, the historical truth, the literary pieces of it. So, and I wanted to learn more about it, and what other great Christian minds such as C.S. Lewis, and right now I'm reading a book by Jordan Peterson. We Who Wrestle with God, who
Oh
connects
yeah.
where the psychological world to the biblical stories. And man, it is so cool to see his perspective. And I've read a book by Lee Strobel, his journey from atheism to the Christian faith, and how it's so profound and just truthful. That book's The Case for Christ, and it
Yeah.
dives more into the historical pieces of it. And I think that's just so cool. I'm a history guy myself, so to read about that's good. But C.S. Lewis has been that guy for me. I've read a few
Yeah.
books of his, starting with Mere Christianity. Jason Epperson pointed me to that because I know he knows a lot about, Christian thinkers and people like that. So, and I'm close with him, so I knew he'd point me in the right direction. So, started off with C.S. Lewis, read Mere Christianity, read The Problem with Pain, because
Yeah.
that's such a great question, and the reason why so many non-believers stay away, or don't understand the Christian faith and things like that. I'm just enjoying it. It's such a
Yeah.
joy to learn new things, and just realities of the world that we live in. So I'm learning a whole lot, but man, I wake up just eager to and find it fun to be
Yeah.
able to learn about the mysterious world that we live in, and finding those answers and pursuing truth. So it's a blessing. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're taking me back to my college days. I remember being 22 and kind of rediscovering my faith in a new way, and reading Case for Christ and Screw Tape Letters, Mere Christianity, all those books. So
They're great. They are
it's
so good.
fun to hear you reflect on that journey. And yeah, this the Bible, C.S. Lewis, some of those authors you talked about. The beauty is you'll never get to the bottom of that well. So we'll
Those
we'll
guys are
spend the
smart.
rest of our lives reading and thinking about some of those texts that
There's
you
no
just
doubt.
mentioned,
There's no
which
doubt.
is part of the fun.
Yeah.
All right, Grady, go ahead and fire away here.
All right, yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, and this could pertain to football or just in life in general. But when you think about the leaders who have shaped you in life, who are some people that come to mind?
So many different people. I think one of the things I live by a lot, and just something I answered in that kind of last question about the books I read, is studying the greats. That goes obviously in learning about the Christian faith and the realities of the world, but within the mystery of the football world, and how complex that can be too, and just about life in general. Man, I've studied the greats, whether that's my parents, my father and my mother, who really raised me and introduced me to Jesus Christ, and biblical truths, whether that's people I've interacted with and encountered within my football um, journey, or even just young athletic journey. I played basketball and baseball. I've been around so many great people, but and especially in college, I've been around so many great football players, but great people who, like I said, really approach what's really true in this life, and that is their faith, beliefs, and values. And I've encountered that. But when I think about the greatest leaders, like I said, the first question I ask myself when thinking about that is, who are the greats? When I study the greats, who are the greatest leaders? And I think one that's Jesus. And I think sometimes we forget he was a real dude, and
Yeah.
he faced more temptations and more anguish and more um, tragedies and hardships than we ever face. And he approached it with such humility and authenticity, and always his mission was far more important then his personal comfort and his personal, you know, the way he felt. And I think that's really shaped me into to my approach and understanding the mission and where we're trying to get as a, on a football team or a community or a family. The mission of wanting to step in and to dwell in Christ is far more important than my personal comfort and the accomplishments I can achieve. And that's been so freeing. So studying Jesus and his life and the way he dealt with people, or not just dealt with people, but loved people so authentically and genuinely, is certainly been a cornerstone for me. But within the football world, man, I've been around a lot of great quarterbacks who have developed more of the competitive um, spirit in me. When I was a freshman, I played under Matt Corral, who is playing in the UFL now, and he's lighting it up. And was a third round guy, man, one of the Ole Miss legends. And I took a lot of just competitive spirit, the teammate he was, the way he loved his teammates, the way he showed up every single day, and worked towards that mission. And there was so many times where his personal comfort was sacrificed for that, man, and that just only propelled him higher. And I learned a lot from that, and the way he carried himself. And man, I've been around so many great coaches and teammates. I can just talk for days about them. But for me, it's, it doesn't have to be complicated. And studying that Jesus dude has always been pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty,
that's a good place to start.
yeah, it's been pretty successful. I would say that. And I think if the more you step outside of that, then you can find some good things. But the more you dwell in that and abide in that, and you'll be in a pretty good spot. That's what I've discovered. So I don't think it has to be complicated. So studying the life of Christ and um, the way he approached the chaos and the realities of the world and the sickness of the world it's got every answer you need. So, and that's what I found to be true. And I'm very thankful for it, and really excited for the journey that's ahead for me because of it.
Yeah. Just one quick connection I thought of as you were talking there, thinking about Jesus, who he was, how he handled his business on earth, and also that curiosity piece that you brought up. A friend of mine just wrote a book about asking great questions. And one of the things he points out in there is that Jesus was even though he was God, he was a master question asker.
Yeah.
And then if you study how he actually interacted with people, if you came and interacted with him in his earthly ministry, just by the numbers, he was far more likely to ask you a question
Yeah, for
than
sure.
to give you an answer.
Yeah, to even provoke deeper thought for those disciples and things. They would go to him and ask him, what's this answer? What's this? I need. And he would, ask another question just to help them think through it a little more, to help them, develop an inner peace and to really just to fix their gaze, upward towards him and towards the truth.
Yeah, one follow up I had about that leader piece was, if we compare like the Luke from 10 years ago and then the Luke now, what's one main thing that you learned or grew in as a leader?
Yeah. Man, I'll say one thing. I listened to my parents a little bit more. I'll say that. I think 10 years ago, I'd have been right in those, entering those teenage years. I was like 12, all throughout teenage, I thought I had every answer, and I was developing into my own self, learning to think for myself and speak for myself. And I thought I had it all figured out. And that has been not the case, throughout my journey. So being able to listen to people who have gone throughout life, starting with my parents who I interact with daily, who have so much wisdom, who have studied the Bible and have been through their fair shares of ups and downs and have been through hardships, have been through a lot of success. So, asking questions to them, because, I see them as great leaders for me and our family, man. We have been so connected because of those two people, my mom and my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So, just pouring into them. They want me to come to them, and they love that. And being able to ask them questions about the littlest things, about my relationships, about my dad's a competitive dude, and he's played a lot of sports at the highest levels, within the competitive realm, the athletic world, and even about my Christian walk. Picking those two minds that I love so much. has been one thing. Listening to my parents, it's in the 10 Commandments, honor your mother and your father. And, I don't think that's any secret. So listen to those people, not just my parents, my
Grady, I
grandparents.
just want to make sure you writing that down. Honor your father and mother. Your parents are smart. Listen to them. All right, continue, Luke.
That's great. Yeah, it's been such a blessing to be able to going into sort of my adult life, but going through all my teenage, 10 years ago, those years, and thinking I had every answer and thinking I had the world in the palm of my hand, and understanding that's not true as life goes on, um, and listening to those people, not just my parents, but even my brothers and my grandparents, just the people I love who want my best interest. I think that is the truth of all truths, the people who want the best for me. And so doing that, but again, being humble in the way I approach, kind of 10 years ago to now, being humble in the way I approach kind of the root of that problem was thinking I had every answer. Always wanting more, a divine discontent to wanting more, not in a greedy way, but just more knowledge, more wisdom, more truth about this crazy life that we live. So again, that goes back to the Christianity piece and learning more about myself and the world that we live in, and the all the mysteries about this world. But humility is the key to all things, I think, and the way I approach my family relationships, within my athletic world, and just understand that I ain't got every answer. That's the bottom line. And I am in need of a lot of good people around me, and a lot of truth. So, and I'm seeking after those. So it's been quite a journey, and quite a journey to understand that um, I'm not as smart as I think I am. So, and I'm in need of a lot of answers, and looking for them daily.
Yeah, so something I heard you say ups and downs. So you play a quarterback, and obviously that's a very high profile position with lots of ups and downs. So how are you able to stay grounded through the great moments and also the bad moments?
Yeah, there's first of all, I've had so many great people who helped me through that, because for the longest time, football and the outcome piece of it dictated who I was, and my feelings, and honestly, my feelings dictated me, and not realities and my faith. So my success or my failures on the field really played a huge part in um, sorry, the way I went on about my life. Whether I was great one day or terrible one day, that was really who shaped me, and it is shown to be very fleeting, and a failure waiting to happen is I think we discover as we go throughout life. But and that really started my journey of wanting to know more about this life. It's clear that athletics or business or finances will always lead you to a very bad place if you set your faith and your perspective towards it. And I wanted to know more answers. I wanted to know the truth, because it was clear I didn't know. And with the help of so many great minds and great Christians and great believers, like one Jason Epperson, who I've gotten to know so great, and even people within the university. I'm grateful that Illinois has supplied us with great psychologists and sports psychologist people, and I've picked brains of people in that world, and they point me towards the truths about my personhood and who I am, and it's been great to approach that, and it's been very freeing to understand that my gifts come from above. And for the longest time, I didn't really, I thought about it, but it didn't really mean a whole lot to me. Understanding that every gift that I have, we're talking about athletics, the way I throw the football and things like that, come from the Lord and come from God, the way He created me, and and what I do out there is such an opportunity to glorify Him and to give Him everything that matters, from the successes to the failures. And it's not all about me, ultimately. And understanding that whenever I practice faith, love, humility, hope, and all the things good, I fail a whole lot every single day, and I'm in need of Him. So it's just shifted my focus from inward to Him and the truths. And it's been so freeing because for the longest time I didn't know the truth, and I thought it did again. So knowing the truth and really what you believe and value and your principles, man, it really has set me free, and that has just trickled down through the athletic world and that and it's made football a whole lot less important, but at the same time, just more of an importance because I know he's gifted me to do it. And every single opportunity that I have out there, I just want to maximize it and give everything I have because it's such an opportunity to glorify him, to say thank you, and to let others see him through me, through my energy, through my compassion, through my competitive spirit, through the way I interact with my teammates and pour into those guys. So it's been a whole perspective shift from not knowing the truth to the truth, and it's truly set me free. The truth has set me free, truly. So it's been great. Yeah.
Luke, some of my favorite people I've ever been around in life, the quality they share is that they take the Lord and their calling seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously.
It's interesting. Yeah.
And that's, as I'm hearing you talk, that's kind of what I'm sensing is, even when you say, okay, football is still important, but it's important in a different way than it used to be. It's important for different reasons. It's not about making sure the world sees me as this thing, but it's actually about him. And so it matters, but it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. I think so many people, I guess, come to that and, become hippie like and think, what they do, like, free spirits, and things like that, which is good a little bit, but, understanding that what you do and the way you interact with people, man, it has the utmost importance.
Yeah.
The people you interact with, their lives, and yeah, I've talked to my family about this and people who have helped me see it. Football has become such less of importance in my life. What I do out there is, I know it's not the end all be all. I love it, and I love the game of it and what it can bring. But at the end, it just doesn't matter a whole lot. But at the same time, like, it's become so much more important in a different perspective, in a different light, that is so freeing. And the way I use it to give him everything that matters, understanding the gifts that I have out there are from above and not from me. I've stewarded those gifts, but ultimately he's given me the breath in my lungs, the ability to throw the football well and to run and to process. Those are all from him, and without him, I wouldn't be out there or any of us. So it's been great to shift the focus that is outcome driven to more just giving him the glory and giving him everything that matters driven.
Yeah.
And so the things that I do have become a whole lot less important in a different way, and so much more important at the same time. And
yeah, I mean, you use the word in there, stewardship. I think to me, that's the key concept there, right? It's important, but it's not in I have to earn something or prove something kind of way. In a, gosh, I've received something, right? I've been blessed, so I can be a blessing to others. Well, that's important. That's exciting, but it's not in a, if I don't, then what will people think? What will God think kind of way, right? And I don't know. As you said, there's a lot of freedom in kind of finding that groove, whether you're playing football, business, whatever it might be. I think all of us are kind of trying to find that lane to live and lead in.
Yeah, it goes back to humility, I think. Use your gifts. Use those gifts that God has graciously given you, and he hasn't giving you those gifts for no reason. Go use them. Go have fun with them.
Go have fun with them. I love that.
Go crazy with them, but keep that perspective and that upward aim in the right spot, and he'll give you more. And if you use them the wrong way, you'll probably take them away. So
that's right. He doesn't give us more than what he knows we can handle.
Yeah.
At a given time. I believe that.
It's freeing. It really is. It really is freeing. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this is a leadership podcast, and you play a position in football that you're sort of unavoidably looked at as a leader. So I'm interested just to explore that, with a little bit more nuance, right? I think you would probably say, it's been a journey of figuring out over these last few years. What does that look like coming from you? What does that sound like, right? You come here as a kid from the South. new part of the country, new university, new people, new system, new everything. But all of a sudden you're QB1 and you're supposed to lead in certain ways. So over the last several years, just can you bring us into that journey a little bit of just figuring out what does it sound, look, feel like for you to be a leader, not necessarily in the way someone else might want you to be, but in the way God's designed you to lead.
Yeah, it's definitely a process because leadership calls to lead people, and knowing those people and connecting with those people is a big piece of it. And to be around a whole lot of new coming to Illinois, I'll say that. Um, Coming to Illinois and knowing nobody is very difficult to lead. So I think rushing into leadership can be very foolish, and I kind of knew that a little bit because I was around a lot of people, and I was stepping into people like Isaiah Williams, who has been there and established himself, his world and his leadership that he had earned, and other people who have been great football players but great leaders there. And I was patient with it, and I understood that I had to develop and connect individually with people so that I may connect and develop the trust, in group settings and team settings. So very patient with it, and it's a very difficult and strenuous process, but it's a blessing. It really is, to be able to have that opportunity upon me. But little connections daily and individually can, in that slow journey, and being yourself, being genuine.
Yeah.
I think going deeper, man, just your passion and the mission and the way you care about something, some of that stuff just naturally comes out, wanting to be your best and wanting to be great and wanting the best for your teammates. You're naturally going to become you're going to become more vocal and more passionate in the way you approach relationships, whether a guy is not using his gifts or not giving it his all. You're naturally going to want to approach that person and use your voice to really get him to where he wants to go. The bottom line is, what's the mission? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want? What are you seeking? And to be in that quarterback role, I just have a natural opportunity to be able to really be the voice of the team, I guess, or be the guy that people look to. And I'll say this, in the athletic world, I really want it. I really want the best for
Right.
our team, and I want us to use our gifts because we have a lot of them, and I want to be my best. I want to use my gifts to go as to reach that mountaintop, to reach my childhood dream of being the best I can be, to be in the NFL, to be a champion, and so the leadership qualities of vocality and intensity, those just naturally come out because I want it, and
You care.
I care about it. So I don't overthink it. I do it in the correct way. Like I said, I study the greats of the faith and the communicators of Jesus and his disciples and people like Jason Epperson, the way they um, lead people throughout a week and the love that they do it with. And I study that, and I let it trickle down into that athletic world that is so barbaric and so tough at times. But the bottom line is, I know the mission of our team, and I want it, and I care about it, and I'm in a position to let that come out and let that shine, and I don't miss an opportunity. But I think if you do it too early, people will be thrown off a little bit. They have to learn to trust you to understand who you are and your beliefs and your values and your principles, where you come from, and things like that. But I don't look at it as a get to opportunity or a got to opportunity. I got to go out there and lead today. Use my voice and be intense today, but I get to, man. Like, it is such a blessing from above to be able to be in the position, the kind of centerpiece of the football team, to be able to, kind of reinforce that mission of where we're trying to go, because I care about it and I love it and I've worked hard for it. So it naturally just comes out. Let your gifts and what you want and what you're seeking, let it be, fix upward in the right reasons, and just let all the rest come out. And the intensity, the emotion in the right fashion, and the love. That's ultimately what it is. I want the best for my teammates and our team. So the vocality and the intensity of whether it's in a practice or whatever it is, man, just wanting the best. And and I think you got to ask yourself what is the best and what is the mission, and all the rest just kind of comes with it. And,
yeah. Well, one of the things I'm taking from your answer there is all those things, but you were willing to be patient with it.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. And I think that can be hard when you're young in a high profile position, right? There's all these voices out there, you know, he should be this, he should be that, he should be what this previous quarterback was like, you know. I mean, there's a lot of noise out there, and I like it that you said, no, let me just be me, let me be patient, let me build relationships, let me work hard, you know, let me let this thing build over several years. And it's cool to see how that has bore fruit, right? I mean, it's happened, right?
Yeah.
And you know, anytime I hear your teammates talking about you, I mean, they're talking about those things you just mentioned: your work ethic, your humility, how much you actually care about the team. But I think it's instructive for all of us listening to understand that is a process, right? And it's not always as simple as just showing up and giving a great speech and now you're a leader, right? There's some things that have to be done behind the scenes over time to earn the right to leverage that influence.
Yeah, I mean, the reality was I was coming into Illinois as a younger kid who was yet to prove himself as a player, and I was going into a locker room where people who had great abilities and had done great things on the field, but who were great in their character and in their humility and their work ethic, like Isaiah Williams and Tip Ryman and so many others. Those guys have established themselves as those voices, and
Yep.
and those relationships were there. And for me to just go in and to run my mouth and maybe in the right way, but those guys just didn't. They haven't seen it from me on the field or just in the relationships. It would have been. It just wasn't connected. I don't think for
Yep.
them. So letting great people like Tip and Isaiah Williams, who were great players, but who had incredible character, and that's why they were leaders. You know,
which they had built over time.
Yeah, it took years. Took years for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I remember meeting Tip when he was a skinny walk-on tight end, you know, from the Dakotas, and you know, he took that same approach you described, and eventually earned that role as a leader. And you know, you were just a few years behind him, but I feel like you took a very similar approach there.
For sure. I mean, Tip, as a freshman, he came into a locker room with juniors and seniors who were great players, but who had great character and people trusted and studied those people.
Yep.
And when I was in Illinois coming in, I studied Tip and Isaiah and those people to understand how they connected with their teammates and things like that. And I was patient. I knew I was a quarterback, but at the same time, those people were very key players and key people in our locker rooms. And I studied how they did it, you know, and I was patient with it, and I connected daily individually. And that ultimately led me to where I am today. And it took a lot of patience, a lot of days, a lot of hours, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So, yeah, rushing into it is very foolish, I think, and being patient and being humble with it and letting the Lord speak to you throughout it has ultimately, I think, been the answer for me.
Yeah, no, it's a refreshing perspective on leadership, in my opinion, because that's not always what you see out there. All right. Grady's got a final question for you in just a second, but the curiosity is getting the best of me. So here's my question before we let Grady finish it off. We've established Jesus is the leader par excellence, and that's good and right. But if you could have dinner with any living quarterback,
Okay,
maybe someone you look up to, someone you respect as a player, a leader, just someone you'd love to pick their brain, learn from them. If you can name it and claim it, what QB would you have dinner with?
I think the answer would be Russell Wilson. I do, for a lot of reasons. I think for one, you know, for one, if I wanted to learn about the game and or learn about the position and the way people throw the football, it'd be the Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers, the guys who are just the craziest talented. But I think Russell Wilson would be the answer for a lot of reasons. For one, he played under Brett Bielema, and he knows that relationship well.
I was going to say, I think you know a guy who could probably set that dinner up if you really wanted to.
Yeah, probably. That's true. But
Coach, if you're listening, let's make that happen.
Yeah, but I think even if I didn't play for Brett or Coach Bielema, it'd still be Russell Wilson because of the way he approaches his life and his character and the way he approaches. He's a great leader, you know, and he's been successful. He's been a Super Bowl MVP and a champion, and he's been to the mountaintop, and he's been so consistent and just from the outside looking in. I obviously don't know him as a person, but through what I see, he just seems like a great leader and a great person, and a person of great character, and his mission and the way he approaches the game, from my perspective, is so authentic and so genuine, and he really cares and he really wants it, and he lets that come out, and he's very passionate about what he does, and he's not lethargic with it. He's a Christian. He's very
Yep.
public about that. So to see how he carries the Christian faith and his perspective into his football world, and the way he approaches his day-to-day work that he does, that is football, and the way he pours into his teammates, ultimately towards the mission to be their best. To see how he connects the realities of the world and Christianity to the football world that we do, would be, I think, just great knowledge and great learning for me. That would be the guy, Russell Wilson. I think, just because of his character, not because he's a great player. I could have picked a lot of better players, and he's a great player, but he's done it for a long time.
Yeah.
He's going into year 12, 13, 14, something like that, and so he's been through all the ups and downs. Been traded, been told he was not good enough, and has been a Super Bowl MVP, which is, man, he's experienced a lot. And what I've seen is consistency, and he's remained the same through it all. And I don't think that's a secret, is because his beliefs and his values and his principles have rooted him and grounded him. And he has an upward aim of wanting to be his best, but also just understanding as a son, and he's in need of Jesus and a savior. And I think he knows that. And he's not afraid to speak it. So he knows what he wants. He knows the mission, I think, just from the outside looking in. And to be able to sit down with him would be, I think, just the answer for me, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, again, Coach Bielema, if you're out there, this is doable. Let's make this happen. All right, Grady, take us home. We have a question we've asked every guest on this season, so I'll let Grady finish us out here.
All right. So the tradition is, so I'm 14, I'm about to start high school.
Yeah.
So I want you kind of already answered this, but maybe you have a different answer this time. Looking back to your 14-year-old self, about to enter high school, what is one thing you wish you had known or someone had told you that would have helped you throughout your high school years and through the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think one, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of what's to come, because there's a lot that's going to be thrown at you, good and bad. Don't be afraid of the good. Don't be afraid of the bad. But that, I think, one thing that I struggled with as I got into more of the higher levels of the competitive world and all that comes with it is, don't waste a second that you have, that God has given you. Don't waste the opportunity, whether that's in the church or the field, the court, in the schools. Don't waste a second to really go after your mission, whether that is, and for the longest time, speaking athletically, as a freshman, my dream was to be a college quarterback, and especially to be at Ole Miss and play in my state, man. I was like, man, this is my dream. And I forgot that, this is, my dream was to play and to be good at it. And I was just happy to be there. And I wasn't wasting my time, but my perspective and my aim was in the wrong spot. I was complacent. And so, that led me to, I was working hard. I was doing all the right things, but, deeper, inward, I was complacent where I was. I was wasting my time thinking about and being complacent and just about where I was, and ultimately didn't lead to all the best things. So don't waste a second with the gifts and the opportunities that the Lord gives you, and don't be afraid, and listen to the greats, listen to the people who know and love you, who have been through a lot, like your parents, like my mom and dad, and people who lead you in the churches, who ultimately you look up to most, and great athletic leaders too. Don't be afraid to listen, because we do not know all the answers. I'll say that we need a lot, but don't be afraid, and don't waste a second. Don't waste a second that the Lord's given you to be your best, and that's what He wants you to be. He wants you to be your best in the right manner, not for greedy and wanting materialistic things, but to be able to shine His light, and he's giving you gifts. He's giving you gifts to steward them, to be great with them. So don't waste it. Don't waste it. The greatest years of my life were playing high school football, and just those high school buddies that I grew up with. Man, those are the greatest times of my life. Yesterday I was with all of them. I'm back at home in Mississippi, and man, I am my most self and my happiest, and having my most fun around those people. So don't waste a second around those people that you love, that you go to school with every single day, that you've grown up with. So I wish every single day, or it'd be so awesome to go back and just to go back to high school and middle school and all those days. And so just be where your feet are. Don't waste a second. And don't be afraid.
What I love about the advice you just gave there, Luke, is that it's great advice for a 14-year-old kid, getting ready to go into high school. But it's equally good advice for a 42-year-old dad here, trying to lead in the business world, right? I mean, just I love that, right? Just don't waste a second of it, right? This life is such a gift. And you just don't know. You just don't know how many more days you're going to get. And the older I get, the more I kind of just get zoomed in on the moment, the day in front of me. Just, all right, God, what does it look like to enjoy the gift that is today, and to be a good steward of the opportunities you've given me? And man, I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to make the most of that. I'm going to be faithful with that. And then we'll wake up, and if we get it tomorrow, we'll do it all over again. But I don't know. I think there's a real wisdom and maturity in what you're saying there. And like I said, it sort of inspires me as I'm listening, even though ostensibly this is for Grady. I think it applies to both of us and to anyone who's listening to this episode.
I mean, David says in the Psalms, Lord, teach me the number of my days so I gain a heart of wisdom. So it doesn't come from me. It comes from the wisdom in that book and the greats, the greats of the faith and the greats of the athletic world. Those are the people who teach me. And so, and it's shown to be successful throughout.
That's right. Again, simple, right? That's a theme we've come back to several times. Some of the greatest wisdom we'll ever uncover, oftentimes it's not the complicated, sophisticated stuff. It's the simple stuff that we can sometimes miss, right? Because we tend to make things more complicated.
It's been the answer for 2,000 years. That hadn't changed.
That's right. Let's not mess with something that's working. So, all right. Well, Luke, hey, thank you again for coming on. Most of these people listen to this episode, right? They know you from Saturday afternoons, and they enjoy cheering for you and the Illini, and that's great. But I think it's cool that, at least for these 45 minutes, listeners got a chance to maybe see a little bit of different side of you, and to know, okay, there's more to this guy than just what we see on Saturday afternoon. There's a strong faith. There's a strong connection with family. There's a curiosity and a hunger to learn, to grow, to embrace all that God has for you each and every day. And man, just thankful for your willingness to come on and share that with our listeners.
Heck yeah, I appreciate y'all. This is so cool to do. These are my favorite moments. So I appreciate it. It means a lot.
All right. Go Illini.
Yep, let's do it.